The other problem that needs to be attended to is the issue of language. Language issue is critical on our continent. If we go out of Africa, we have teaching which is taking place in their native languages. Whereas on the African continent, we are forced to teach in Afrikaans, in English, in French, and other languages that are foreign to our continent. And when arguments are normally brought with regards to the introduction of our native languages as languages of teaching, there are always arguments to say that there are certain things that cannot be said in our own languages, which is not true. We can come up with a word for theta. We can come up with a word for an asymptote in Shona or Zulu or any other African language. We can come up with any word for any of the words, technical words that are there in the different books. So it should be a deliberate move by us on the African continent to come up with textbooks, resources in which we have written a textbook in Shona for mathematics, a textbook in Shona for geography, and so on, so that we do not continue to be subservient to the colonial languages that were introduced to us by force. The other issue that also needs to be attended to, which is problematic, is that of the curriculum. The curriculum that we continue to give on the African continent is a curriculum that is coming or borrowed from our former colonial masters. As if we do not have learned people on the African continent. It is high time that the learned people on the African continent, the professors, the doctors, the educationists, our elders, sit down and come up, consider a curriculum that serves the interests of the African child, that serves the interests of the challenges that we are finding on the African continent. The circumstances on the African continent, they are different from those that we find in Europe and other countries. We were seen as a continent where we only get raw materials, because we have these raw materials in abundance, and they have been there since time immemorial, and we have used them since time immemorial. That is why the traders used to come to Africa to get gold, to get different minerals and other things that are on the African continent, because we were mining them, we were exploiting our resources. And we need now to come up with a curriculum that aligns our environment, that aligns the curriculum to our environment, to our needs, that shapes the narrative of the African people on the African continent. And like you rightfully said, it is us who should be able to be telling this good story about Africa. And this good story about Africa can be told through our curriculum. It can be told through what we are giving to our children, so that they have an identity which is African, an identity which is South African, Zimbabwean, Zambian, Nigerian, and so on and so on. That can only be attained when we consciously and deliberately change the current curricula that we find across the African continent, so that it becomes an African curriculum that serves African interests and needs, that shapes our future according to our history, which should be correctly told, because what we have today is not the correct history. It is a distorted history that is shaping our narrative so that we become satellite countries of America, of Britain, and so on. And what you see in these satellite communities is exactly people more looking up to their models who are American, British, and so on. And you can tell immediately when you see our child. So the onus is on us, you and me, and all the other African brothers and sisters listening today, to make sure that we deliberately look at how best we can change our curriculum so that it serves the interests of us on the African continent and our economies.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Before I ask you the next question, what have to do with how we can actually guarantee a quality education for African children, because it is very important today, looking at how the world is turning now, looking at the economy, looking at the dynamics of our world. A week ago, I went with my wife to a lake area near my city. It's called Lake Garda. Now, when we were there, I was discussing with my wife. You say, this part now, the economy of these people, of this small place, is actually revolving around this lake for transport, for fishing, for feeding, for drinking. Okay, maybe, of course, they can clean the water for drinking, for irrigation, for everything. Just water in the lake. Now, I said, let's think back to Nigeria, for example, in the delta area of Nigeria. In all other parts, Africa is actually abundantly, I repeat, abundantly blessed with resources. And sometimes I think maybe we are suffering because we have too much. There is no threat to our lives. Like maybe the European who have to invade or they will perish. Because the code here is too much on you, that if you don't have it, if you don't have heater, you are going to die. So, talking of education, I think that our education should have been how to create a relationship between you as a human being related to the nature. But I think other people have already explained this one well enough. Look at Kensaro Wewa, for example, talking of the abuse, the deliberate abuse of the Niger Delta by the multinational oil company. His argument was very simple. Let's respect the land. Because according to our understanding, our idea of life, our life depends on this land. If we destroy the land, we destroy the life. And of course, this is evidence today. Go to the Niger Delta with over 21 million people. Their life is ruined. Of course, not everyone. There are some individuals who manage to benefit from this stealing, from this destruction of the resources. So what I'm saying is that maybe if we educate the people to face their problem, we might find a solution. Because the solution is not going to come from US, from UK, or from France. It's not going to happen. It will never happen. The solution must come from the people. And this must be according to their education. So now I come back to the question I want to ask you. You see, today, looking at even the COVID-19 situation, every economy, every country is strategizing on how to survive, because we are basically in the period of surviving. Economy that was shut down for a long period of time. You cannot be prosperous in this period. It's a period where we survive. What do you think, taking from the point of view of education, Africa should inculcate into their educational system so that we can also survive? Because other people that are trying to survive, they are looking at Africa to grab for resources so that their economy can remain afloat. But for us, what should we inculcate? What should we be telling our children in school so that they can also build economy for them? They can also do like other people, because now there is internet, there is technology. The technology is not only for the European, it's also for us. You and I'm in Italy, you are in South Africa. I'm talking, in the next seconds you are hearing me. How can we take advantage of all this in our educational system?
Thank you. Like you have said, Land is life, and we must value our land on the African continent, and we must use it to serve us as Africans. Everything on the land belongs to us, and it must develop our economies. The other issue that you have also alluded to is the issue of problems that are and the challenges that are in Africa. I must say there is now a new sense amongst African leaders and people on the African continent that African problems needs African solutions. Likewise, problems that we have in the education sector, which are problems on the African continent, need also to be addressed using African solutions. That is why it is imperative for us to come up with our own curriculum on the African continent that serves the interests of the continent, that serves the interests and guarantees that we value our identity as Africans. You spoke about COVID-19, and we have seen in the battle for survival, we have complained so much on the African continent that the countries that are manufacturing the vaccines have given many to themselves. I think we should not begrudge them for doing so, because they are manufacturing these vaccines in their own backyard. Therefore, they should give them to their people first. The problem is with us Africans, who have not taken the time to come up with our own vaccines. People who do not believe in what we do on our own. We need the Europeans, the Americans to validate things that we are doing on our African continent. We have medicine on our own continent which are capable of curing COVID-19, but this medicine has not been accepted by our own pharmacies or people that are in medicine, because they have not been validated by the World Health Organization, by the Americans, and so on. And we end up getting medicine from other countries. An example is what happened in Madagascar, where they found medicine which they felt that this is medicine which can cure COVID-19. Medicine that can mitigate the challenges that people are facing. And we have this across Africa. But no one in Africa was prepared to support the people in Madagascar to produce our own medicine on the African continent. So the problem is with us at times on Africa, that we do not believe in ourselves. We have been enslaved so much that we can no longer believe in what we do. Therefore, there is need for an attitudinal change among many of us on the African continent to believe in ourselves, to believe in our abilities, to believe in what we can do and validate it, because we need to use it on our own African continent. So the challenge with our education system is that of making sure that we teach our children to believe in themselves.